Oh, and you've said it a few times.
I like that, huh?
What, I hate to go back to school, what inaccuracies are bothering you? You've mentioned them a couple of times now. What specifically inaccuracies are
Go ahead and ask me a specific one. If you got knowledge of it, like that we haven't offered an 8-year deal, or we haven't, we're not willing to compromise, or we haven't moved on things. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not talking about specifics. You're just not gonna get it. But the fact I did reference one, as a matter of fact. I think it's that somebody says I wouldn't return a call for 3 weeks. That's inaccurate. Was it written? Was it said? Was it written?
That one I'm not sure.
Well, I will tell you, I don't listen to podcasts. I said my son loves biz, thinks he's fabulous. I think he's a great entertainer, okay? But at the end of the day, they're inaccurate. And that's okay, because that's all part of the business nowadays. It's okay if you turn around and say it's your opinion or your belief and such, but don't report it as fact. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
So, again, just a sample of Don Sweeney today. Very snipey, very, again, sort of aggressive with the media. I'm sorry?
Punchy.
Definitely punchy as it relates to the Jeremy Swayman story, who he reports will not be there tomorrow when the Bruins report for training camp. He believes it will get done by December 1st. December 1st.
It has to get done by.
Well, if he wants a year of service time and if he wants to play this year.
Correct.
So that's the deadline in the CBA, that if you want to play, you have to report by December 1st, year of service time, December 1st, et cetera, et cetera. So that was kind of ominous as it relates to Swayman, and I think Sweeney's whole attitude is interesting. What's your take, Mazz?
So the fact that Sweeney is acting the way he's acting, to me, tells you how frustrated he is that there isn't a deal. He's agitated. He wants the deal done. He thinks they're being fair. He clearly thinks the other side is not. I mean, I think it's all sort of projected on the media, because it's saying you're saying this, you're saying that, when the reality is he's annoyed that they haven't gotten the deal done yet. That's what I think it is. But to me, at the end of the day, I've said this to you before. Look, I'm all for guys going and making as much money as they can. But it's a hard cap league. And so I just think in the NHL, at least more than the other ones, we all know there are little mechanisms to always circumvent some things, not others. But I think at the end of the day in the NHL, players do have to make a choice now as to how far they want to go with the money with the team they're negotiating with, because at some point it is going to cost you other guys on the roster.
Yeah, I think what you got today was him expressing, again, frustration that this thing isn't done, because I think, the agent is driving him nuts, and the money is probably too high for what he wants to give. But he also might be mad at himself for giving all the leverage to Jeremy Swayman by trading Linus Ullmark, too. Like, that's another thing. You kind of screwed this up. You cornered yourself. You traded Ullmark. Swayman has the advantage now. So, I don't know, it's entertaining, and it's certainly good for us for the show, but I hear this, and part of me is like, dude, shut up and get the job done. Get this deal done.
So, Murray's right. I need to carry it a step further. The reason he's frustrated is because he trusted the other side.
Yeah.
He trusted the other side to get a deal done and said, okay, we're going to trade away our guy. We're not going to go to arbitration. And, there was an interesting item in the story you had, that Fluto, that we'll get to later. But the bottom line is he put faith in the other side to come to terms on a deal. It hasn't happened, and now he's been caught with his pants down. He's pissed.
Or faith in himself. Yeah, we'll get this done. We got this. And he felt that way from the start, and it's bitten him in the ass. So the Bruins are absolutely responsible for where they are here, and they have mismanaged the situation. There's no question about it. This is Don Sweeney's doing. And the team backed itself into the corner, and this is their responsibility. It's their fault. I'm still not paying the guy. And Swayman drives me nuts, too. I think Swayman's a big crybaby, and I think he's got delusions of grandeur, and I don't think he's worth the money he's asking for. And, I know this, I'm sort of twisting myself in a pretzel. I don't begrudge him for asking. If you can get it, get it. You should always sort of root for the player against management in these situations, but he ain't worth the money. I wouldn't pay him. And, again, I think he's kind of a crybaby about the whole thing. I sure hope he was able to come to terms with the arbitration from last year. I sure hope he's over that, because it doesn't sound like he is. But that being said, just take it back, Mazz. You mentioned the item in Fluto. It's been reported before. The Bruins took Swayman to arbitration last year. Once they got the award, $3.5 million, they had a chance. The Bruins, it was their choice whether to make it a 1-year award or a 2-year award. They could have made it a 2-year award, meaning they could have had Swayman this year for under $4 million. But Sweeney, who was trying to be fair or trying to send an olive branch to the Swayman side, or was maybe saying to himself, well, there's no way he's going to play for this anyway, or for some calculation. But I think part of it was to send an olive branch to the Swayman camp. Accepted just a 1-year deal, not a 2-year deal. And so it started there. That he put faith in himself, that I don't need to have that second year. Faith in myself to get the deal done with the other side. So I won't do for a 2-year. And as my opening gesture will be, I'm just taking the 1 year, not the 2, guys. So let's do business. And he put faith in himself. He put faith in the other side. Then when he got to this offseason, he had a chance to take him back to arbitration, and he didn't do it. And he traded the other goalie, all thinking that he could do business with the Swaymans. And he can't. And so the reason they're there is his fault. And I make no mistake about that. Now, I'm still not paying the guy. And I'm still not all that worried about it. They're going to be good. They're going to be good with Jeremy Swayman or without Jeremy Swayman. They're going to be a good team. They are a good team. And I have faith, I told you this before, that by the end of the year, this crap bag they got from Ottawa,
Korpisalo.
what's his first name?
Jonas.
Jonas
Korpisalo. Okay, this beanbag. By the end of the year, I guarantee, well, not good. It's a prediction. You're going to look back and say, he's not so bad. He's all right. And they're going to be all right, and they're going to be good. With Jeremy Swayman or without Jeremy Swayman. They do not need Jeremy Swayman. I don't think. Now, to win a cup or to go on a deep run, get back to me. But to be where they are, I don't need to predict the playoff series 6 months in advance, do I? But to get to where they've been, which is one of the better regular season teams in hockey, with a high seed and home playoff games and a chance to go on a run, they'll be there with or without Jeremy Swayman, my prediction. And I wouldn't cave to him. I'd trade him. I'd trade him yesterday. I'd still trade him. And that isn't to say that I would trade him for a bag of hockey pucks. It would have to be a good trade. I'd have to get a real return. But I would still trade him. And I'd go with the 2 guys they got right now. And if they want to go find a floater goalie, go find me a floater goalie. I'm not worried about the goaltending.
I'll tell you what, as far as stalemates go, this is a good one. This is a good one because the Bruins do have 2 guys in camp. I don't think this is going to all of a sudden resolve itself in a week. In other words, that December 1st deadline has been there all along. If Swayman wanted to be in camp, he'd be here. You follow me?
Sure.
So I think it's going to go on for a while. So that means the Bruins basically are going to get up until December 1st to see how their goaltending works and comes along under goalie Bob.
Yeah.
With Korpisalo and with Bussi.
If they're in first place and top 10 team in goals against, which they usually are, that'll be interesting. It changes the dynamic.
Yeah, and look, I think there's the real possibility because Swayman is going to come back at that point. He will. There's no way he is sitting out a year and giving up the service time. No way. So at that point, I think there's every chance that they cut a deal and trade him. And I mean a trade, not a contract deal.
Yep.
I wouldn't rule out a trade right before December 1st. I wouldn't rule that out. This thing has gotten, they've dug in.
Also,
that's what today tells me. They've dug in.
I'll say this for Sweeney. At least today he took on the big boys. And by that I mean the big media guys. He didn't just swipe at Ty Anderson or one of these local guys sitting there in front of him at the podium who he can look down on. He took on the biggest names in hockey media today, I think. That's Spit and Chicklets podcast. So he took his opening statement was on Swayman. He took 3 questions and then said that's it. We're moving on. And then he started taking all sorts of different things. And then he got asked a question by, I believe, DuPont about this being his 10th year on the job. Which I'm going to open up a whole nother discussion here today too as well. 10 years on the job for Don Sweeney. How's he doing?
I would say overall, C+.
The best record in hockey since he took over.
Yeah, his farm system's a borderline disaster.
I think his farm system's underrated.
And they dug 2 in on the 2 goalie thing, too, which is now kind of blowing up in their face.
Best record in hockey since he took over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How many championships?
We will discuss. That would be 0.
How many appearances?
1. So, you tell me. Best record in hockey, no championships.
So he's the Oakland A's. He's the Atlanta Braves. Neat.
Billy Bean running the Bruins
Something
now.
tells me Stu's not impressed.
Jimmy's got the ass today.
Oh, boy, do I have the ass today. Let me tell you, brother.
No, listen, I don't blame you for not being impressed. 10 years without a championship, that should be enough to say, not the guy.
What, Harry went 30, right?
30
So he's got 20 more to go.
to reach that, exactly. But the point being, it's just sort of an unusual thing. Usually if you have the best record in the league over a 10-year period, you've broken through once or twice.
Instead, you choked one away at home in Game 7.
I can't blame Sweeney for that. Like I said, different topic. Back to today. At least Sweeney took on the big media. And it wasn't just Ty Anderson. So again, he started with 4 questions about Swayman, said that's it. I'm only going to talk about something else. Then DuPont asked him about this being your 10th year. And your motivation and all of that. Jimmy, Kevin gave me 5A. He gave me a little shorter version on number 5. Make sure it's 5A. So in the middle of this long answer on his 10 years on the job, this is what he says.
I'm sorry, I don't have a 5A.
Whoever got it at a 5A, then just play 5. It's a little longer. Go ahead.
It's a minute-long cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, you said shorter.
Hit it.
And sometimes the wheel turns slower, and you have to communicate, and you have to step back and evaluate, and listen to everybody, bark at you for doing things right or wrong. You have to put the earmuffs on at times. I laugh because my son loves the Spit Up on Yourself podcast, and yeah, I did that on purpose, Joe. You're right. Because I'll go back to the inaccuracies of what everybody's reporting. And, it's great entertainment. It's great entertainment. But at the end of the day, it's not a lot of fact-checking going on there. So that part of the business, you got to recognize. This city is awesome for that because they want their teams to win. You guys are covering it because you want them to win. Not hoping we lose, albeit it writes a story that way too. But at the end of the day, you're in it for the juice, to put the team together and try and win. And if it doesn't work, they're going to kick you out at some point in time. So I've said that before. The shelf life is there. Don't know when it is. Just going to work my ass off to put the best team we possibly can. That's why I sit here disappointed, in some regards, but excited in most of the others.
Sweeney's, he was feisty today. I liked it. And I like that he took on a real, I know this is not to.
No, I know what you mean.
Real national guys. Like, Sweeney, I'm sure, thinks he can beat up the local guys that cover him. What's that to him? But, you take on the big internet guys, like that's different. So good for him. I'll give him credit for that. Taking on those guys. But he was feisty and I think a little defensive of his tenure. I think he has a right to be on some level. 10 years, best record in hockey. Took over a team that was circling the drain. Peter Chiarelli, they had missed the playoffs 2 straight years. Maybe the second was his first year. Maybe that was Cassidy took over and they got him into the playoffs that first year. But either way, he took over a team that was clearly going in the other direction. And under his watch, he saw guys like Chara, Bergeron, Rask. These guys retire, get old. And they've still been a top team in the league in the regular season. Mm-hmm. Haven't won dick.
Yep.
So 10 years in, how do you grade that general manager? Well,
if you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.